our presenter tonight is Mary Winfrey. She really doesn't need an introduction, but wonderful Mary is a member of Division 26, and I just saw her Lieutenant Governor join our call. Hello, Cindy. So Mary is a member of the Robinson Lumberton Club, where she is the immediate past president of the club. She's also the immediate past Region 5 trustee when we had denominated regions. She was the Region 5 trustee for 3 years. She currently is in her first year as the Carolinas District Membership Development Chair, which is a fancy way of saying that Mary is responsible for helping the clubs in the Carolinas District's membership, be it the existing clubs, be it growth, be it engagement, be it retention, orientation, welfare. Membership development is Mary's responsibility. Now, I don't know how many of you joined, but back on October 20, Mary presented an earlier membership presentation on how to virtually conduct a membership drive. And we had, I believe, the largest audience that we've had for any of our webinars to date. We had, I believe, 46 people that night. And that, if you did not see that webinar, I would encourage you to visit the Carolinas District webpage, www.carolinakiwanis, that's no S in Carolina, carolinakiwanis.org. At the top, there is a resources link, and you can drop down, and there's the webinar library. And watch her October 20 seminar on how, thank you very much, Leah, that just popped up on my screen where she has put that in the chat room for you. Mary did a wonderful video on how her club did a virtual membership drive, and through a Zoom call like we're having tonight, they recruited 10 new members. I encourage you to go watch it if you have not. I was on a call this weekend with governors from all around the world in the Carolinas District, and Mary's October 20 webinar was mentioned by a governor from Western Canada who had been attending that night, Roland Sabarin, and he told all the governors on the call what a fabulous webinar it was. So we're in for a treat tonight, and with that, I turn it over to Mary. Thank you, Mary.
Well, after that introduction, I may need to leave. Thank you so much, Chris. That's very kind of you. It's great to see so many familiar faces here and some new ones too. So welcome, glad you're here. I'm going to go ahead and get us started with a screen share. All right, there it is. So we did talk a lot about how to recruit members in our last webinar. So I thought that this is a good place for us to start with engagement. I'm sure many of you have taken the information that was provided in the last webinar and began looking at your membership and bringing in new members. I know you did, because I saw the numbers increase in the last quarter from where we dropped off. We're not where we want to be just yet, but I know that you're working to bring in new members because we see the efforts in the numbers. So let's talk about what to do next. And I have to start by asking you some questions. And the first one is, are your members all in for service? Are all of your members all in for service? Do you have enough members to continue the signature projects that your club is known for? Do you have the members and the skill sets to do the things that you want to do that you haven't been able to accomplish just yet? And if your answers are no to those questions, then maybe what we need to think about is how to engage our members so that we can get you there. So let's talk about that. We know that the pandemic has affected us in so many ways, but it's definitely impacted our members and our membership here in the Carolinas District. And some of the ways that we've been impacted by the pandemic is that there are little to no in-person club meetings. Service projects and fundraisers have been canceled, and some members are experiencing fear and anxiety of becoming ill. This is where I raise my hand, right? Feelings of loneliness and isolation due to social distancing are impacting others. And all of that is causing a reduction in club membership across Kiwanis. But we're definitely going to change that here in the Carolinas district, right? Heads nod. This is where we nod. Yes, that's what we're going to do. So what are we going to do now to overcome the impact that pandemic is having on our membership and on our members? This wasn't just something that was a concern pre-COVID, but definitely in the midst of it, we have a new set of challenges. But a lot of the things that we did pre-COVID, we can do now, in addition to the other things that we've added as a result of us being forced out of the box and into innovation. Let's talk about some of those things. But I think it's important for us to stop for just a moment and think about the benefits of membership. Why do we even want to do this, right? Well, there's the collaboration that we have when we're working on projects and fundraisers together. There's the rewarding feeling of serving children. It's what we're here for. It's what this is about. And there are networking opportunities. I mentioned in the beginning, I see a lot of familiar faces here. I have friends all across the Carolinas and maybe even in Western Canada these days. But the networking opportunities are endless, depending on how involved we get, right? Whether it's on the club level, the district, the division, the Carolinas, or internationally. There's the social interaction. And I'll step out over here in my faith a minute and tell you that I believe we were all designed to serve each other. So we need the social interaction to do that. There are the interesting and inspiring programs that bring us back to club meetings again and again. We know that we can step away from the stress of work and life and come to Kiwanis and have a different experience, clear our minds for a bit before we jump back into those things that we have to do every single day. There's fellowship and lasting friendships. I know without a shadow of a doubt, I have friends in Kiwanis that I'm going to have for the remainder of my life. And then there's the fun, lots and lots of fun that we have here in Kiwanis. So of course, the do good, feel good thing is important to us in Kiwanis, but there's so much more that Kiwanis brings to our lives. And I want you to think about that when you're missing people, that they're missing out on some things, right? Or when you're inviting people to Kiwanis, what is it they need to come to Kiwanis for? What are they going to gain from it? We've talked a lot this year and in previous years about the membership committee and the importance of having a membership committee in your club. In the previous webinar, we focused a lot on what the membership committee is going to do to identify and bring new members to your club. But now that you've done that, now that the membership committee has worked to bring in new members, what's next? Well, their role changes a little bit as you bring in new members. And they're going to help you induct the new members to your club, and they're going to recognize the sponsors who brought them in. The membership committee is going to plan and conduct a new member orientation. Don't worry, if you don't have a new member orientation prepared, it's easy. There's a template on Kiwanis International's website. Grab it, add information that's pertinent to your club, and wham bam, you have a new member orientation. Invite speakers who are cheerleaders for Kiwanis in your club, and maybe even district and division level leadership to participate in your new member orientation. New members should know what they're getting into, what is expected of them, and what they can expect from Kiwanis. This is an opportunity to build their excitement in Kiwanis through the new member orientation. The membership committee is also going to work with you to develop a retention plan. Do you have one? Do you know why people are leaving your club? Have you studied it? Have you thought about it? What do you need to change? Do you need to be flexible in some areas that you haven't been? Maybe you need to add electronic payment options because it was something we didn't have and we lost members as a result of it. What does your club need to do to retain members? The membership committee is going to focus on the overall positive member experience. And how do you know if members are having a positive experience? Well, they're going to conduct a member satisfaction survey periodically. so that they know what members are experiencing and what they hope to experience as well. They'll also help you with exit interviews when members leave, so you know why they're leaving. If your club has not identified a membership chairperson and formed a committee, now's the time to do it. There's time right now to develop this committee, put it into action, and make these things happen for your club. So let's talk about the ways that we can get members engaged. We've talked a little bit about bringing in new members, so we're going to focus on them for just a moment. When you bring in folks to the club, they're meeting with strangers. Oftentimes they don't know everyone in the club. They should absolutely feel welcome. They should know that the membership is excited to have them join, right? So conduct a member induction, bring the sponsors in and recognize them for their efforts as well, but make it a big deal that they've joined your club. Hold the new member orientation, as I mentioned before. Determine what their interests and skill sets are so that you know how to get them plugged into the club. And they may have skills that you are missing that you didn't know about. The orientation's a great time to find out what skill sets they have. Involve them in service projects right away. Don't waste any time. Get them involved, get them plugged in. And assign a mentor. The mentor is not necessarily the sponsor. The person who brought them in may not be the one to mentor them. Maybe it's someone else. Now, guess what? They have two contacts in your club that are checking on them, hopefully, the sponsor and the mentor. Form a mentorship program. Communicate often. Make sure that they're engaged. Make sure they understand what events and programs are coming up. When's the next Zoom meeting and how do I get on the Zoom meeting? Make sure they understand things like when their dues are due, when they need to pay and how they need to pay, and those kinds of things, so there's not an upset with that later. But the biggest thing is to have fun. Make sure they're having a great time in Kiwanis. And of course, I had to throw in Chris's logo here. Make sure they feel welcome to Team Kiwanis. And as I mentioned before, engagement has always been a concern, but now that we're in pandemic, we're doing things a little bit differently. So let's talk about ways that we can get our members engaged. All of our members, not just our new members, but everyone. Plan virtual meetings, just like we're doing tonight. Make them fun. Change them up. Don't have them the same every single time. We talked about the importance of speakers and programs in our in-person meetings. They're just as important when we're having a virtual meeting. So make your virtual meetings fun. Do something different. Do something that you didn't get to do when you were having a meeting in person. Track attendance and follow up. Not everybody's going to be on the virtual call. They may not know how to log into it. Give them a hand. Help them understand how to do that. But follow up. Find out why they're not there. Your club secretary is going to be on most of your meetings, and if the club secretary is not, assign someone to track attendance so that you can look at the trends and see who's there and who's not. See who's engaged and who's not. Hold a phone tree. We did this a couple of times in Robinson Lumberton just to follow up with our members and make sure everyone was well, and to inform them of upcoming events. When we held the first virtual event, we wanted our members to be involved. And so we made a number of phone calls to say, hey, we're doing this. We want you to help us identify new members, and we want you to participate in the event. Inform those members who are not participating, who aren't getting on your normal meetings, of important board decisions. They need to know what's going on. Provide an upcoming schedule of events. If you know that you're going to hold virtual events at a different time than you typically have with your club, in-person club meetings, people need to know that, right? One thing that we've done in Robinson Lumberton is we hold one at lunchtime and one in the evening, because it appears that schedules are very different now that we're in the midst of pandemic. And we wanted to be flexible so that everyone had an opportunity to join our virtual meetings. And of course, increase activity on social media. Where are we staying connected these days? We're not getting out, we're not socializing. So we're staying connected on social media for the most part. So make sure that you have adequate activity on your social media sites so that members and prospective members, community members, know what's going on. Hold a virtual service project. So we're not getting out to have our normal service projects. Read Around Robinson is a huge event here for us, and we enjoy going into second grade classrooms and reading to children, but it's not going to happen. So because we do that, our young professionals decided to record themselves reading to children last year, and Southport Oak Island Club said, wait a minute, we can do that and we can one-up you. And so they have. And so here you see, I think he calls himself Elf Stevie, reading a story to children. Now, how much fun is that? I came across this. It was the first one I found when I went to search YouTube. You want to see them? Go to YouTube, find Southport Oak Island Club, and you too can share a story with your children. Hold a virtual fundraiser. Hold a virtual fundraiser and engage your membership so that they will share the fundraiser on their page. I know that the Wilmington Club had a virtual fundraiser in lieu of their pancake festival and raised $22,000. How does that sound? Do something different, involve your membership in it. Hold a virtual interclub for fellowship, like we have tonight, and for inspiration. When we come together and share ideas, we gain inspiration to do different things than we've done in the past. Increased activity on social media is here again because, well, that's how Mary does it sometimes. It's there for emphasis, I'm sure. Okay, I'm going to tell you again, increase activity on social media. It's so important. And offer virtual options at your in-person meetings. I know that some clubs are meeting on occasion or on the regular schedule in person. And the Myrtle Beach Club gave an option to folks who wanted to be at the meeting, couldn't be for any number of reasons. Maybe they were quarantining, but they opened their meeting up with a Zoom meeting as well. So they were there in person. Those members who couldn't be there were able to join virtually. Another way to keep your members engaged. Encourage participation in club education opportunities like we have tonight. I don't think any district does it better than the Carolinas district. There are a lot of educational opportunities here in the Carolinas district, but there are also opportunities on Kiwanis International's Facebook page, on their website. You can find the webinars that have been offered, the Lunch with a Leader webinars are there. And you can use those for your meetings when you're holding a virtual meeting. Just play one of the videos. But education is very important. When we come together in education, we leave inspired. We also are growing leaders in the process of inviting people to participate in club education. And I'm certain some of your clubs struggle like my club does to find the next leadership team from year to year. We're already talking about that in Robinson Lumberton Club and scratching our heads and trying to determine who's going to lead the club next year. Well, while doing that, we're also thinking about the educational opportunities that are available to our club members because we know that they need to get educated now so they can be successful next year. Who can you invite to a club education opportunity that you haven't had involved before? A lot of times people are sitting back, we stand in front of the club, we send out emails and say, hey, this is coming up, who wants to participate? But I think we get better results when we actually pick up the phone and call someone and say, this is coming up, I think you're a great fit for it, would you consider participating? You get much better results by making the ask rather than sending out a blast email. Invite inactive members to serve on a committee. Again, we're thinking about leadership. Who's going to lead the club in the future? When those people who are sitting back that aren't involved are asked to participate in a committee, they're able to learn how the committee functions, participate in the committee, bring their ideas to the committee, and eventually they're your next committee chair. So invite those folks who aren't engaged in some other areas, who aren't already so very busy with Kiwanis, to serve on a committee so that they get engaged. Again, I'm putting emphasis on the importance of having a good time. To make your virtual events fun. And at the bottom of the page here, you see something that I wish someone had invited me to. It was Florida Club hosted a virtual dance party as a fundraiser. They had DJs play music for a period of time. They invited various people to participate, and the music went on for hours. Now that sounds like fun to me. Music, dancing, and friends, I'm there. So think of something fun to do that engages your membership, gets the word out about your club in the community, and maybe raises some money too. One thing that we know is that Kiwanians give a huge part of themselves to Kiwanis. They invest their time, energy, skills, financial means, and innovative ideas. Recognition in a person's value, investment, and contribution is key to retaining them. We don't do this for the recognition, but it doesn't hurt to recognize people. They're motivated by the fact that we realize that they're making a huge investment in Kiwanis. So remember to recognize members. And we're going to talk a little bit about member recognition and the various ways that you can recognize your members. We want them to stay invested in the club. We want them to stay invested in the community. Member recognition can be done in a number of ways. It could be something as small as, oh, we're not there yet. We're going to talk about why we're going to recognize members and what we're going to recognize them for. We talk a lot about membership because membership is so very important. So we absolutely want to recognize members for their sponsorship of new members. For inviting guests to service projects or meetings. Maybe you're going to have a goal of inviting a certain number of people to your Zoom meetings or to your next service project. When we get people involved, when we get guests involved in our service and in our meetings, it gains interest for them in the club, and eventually they become members. That's how I came to Kiwanis. Recognize members for exceptional service to the club and to the community. Recognize them for their financial gifts, for exceeding fundraising goals, and for excellence in leadership. And as I was saying before, there are a number of ways to recognize members. It can be something as simple as a round of applause. Remember this? I mentioned in the club newsletter or news articles. If your club doesn't have a newsletter, there's no better time to get one than when we're in the middle of pandemic. A handwritten note. It's so nice to receive a handwritten note in recognition of something that we've done, right? Maybe you recognize them in a member spotlight on social media. Something that we did in our club as we were working toward a membership drive, but definitely could be done any time of the year, anytime someone has done something that deserves recognition. Highlight your members on social media. Or you give them a plaque. We do this in a number of clubs where we have Kiwanian of the Year recognition, and they're provided a plaque, or maybe it's a plaque for service and leadership. And then there are a number of ways that we can recognize members through joint efforts with Kiwanis International and the district. And we'll talk a little bit about those a little bit later. Let's talk about Kiwanis International Awards at this point. There's so many to choose from, but I selected a few because I thought it was important for you to know about them. There is an award with KI called the Ruby K Award. It honors members who invite 5 or more members to join Kiwanis. It's over their career, over their lifetime in Kiwanis. But once you have sponsored 5 new members, you can receive the Ruby K Award. You apply for these online and present them at your next banquet or charter event. Distinguished members and club awards. These again have certain criteria set by KI. Go research that information, but these are given for service, membership strength, and Kiwanis education. And then there's the Legion of Honor Award that I wanted to make you aware of. It's for members who have served for 25 years or more. With the Carolinas District, there's the Herb Hennick Award for an outstanding club secretary. There is an outstanding president award and distinguished member award. And then of course there are club or district membership contest awards. So clubs set their own awards, but so does the district for us. And I mentioned before the Club Kiwanian of the Year. There are a number of other awards that clubs have given at the many events that I've been to. You need to decide how you're going to recognize members in your club, for what reasons and how, and maybe you're going to honor a member who's passed on or left the club with an award in their honor. But there are a number of ways that we can do, things that we can do to recognize our members. The key is to recognize your members. It doesn't have to be elaborate, but just mentioning a name or saying thank you to someone really goes a long way. I wanted to take just a few minutes and have some of you share some ideas of things that you're doing in your club to keep your members engaged while we're in the midst of pandemic. Is there someone who'd like to share? Anyone have something you're doing different? How about when you're meeting in person? What are some of the things that you've done to engage your membership? Let me share something with you that we did in Robinson Lumberton. We had a member cancel. No, we didn't. We had a speaker cancel. And I was the program chair. And I knew I could not come to that meeting that day without a program. And so we went in and gave numbers had everyone pull a number from a hat and give them different seating than they normally sit in. Now, mind you, this was an in-person meeting, not necessarily something that we can do while we're meeting virtually, but there are things that we can do virtually. We asked the members to sit at a table with that assigned number on it and gave them a service project to do. So they were working on the service project. While working on the service project, they had a number of questions that they had to answer about how we could better serve our community and present those ideas to our membership at the end of the day. Well, now that we're meeting virtually, you can have breakout sessions and do the same thing. So put your members into groups, give them a number of questions to answer or ideas to think about, and come back and share those ideas with the entire group. So when we talk about doing things to break up the meetings or to break up what we're always doing in the patterns and give people something totally unexpected to do, you know, they may be a little resistant in the beginning, but by the time they leave the meeting, they would have had a great time. So we want you to think about ways that you can engage members that are going to work in your club. So the things that happen in Raleigh may not necessarily work for us in Robeson County, but coming together and sharing these ideas with us later, okay? So we want to hear from you. Are there any questions that I can answer for you?
One of the things that we started doing at Winston-Salem in the Twin City Club is a couple of weeks ago, we started actually filming our meeting on Facebook Live. And we've made investments in some different things to make it work. But the first week we didn't do it live, but I recorded it, so I put it on the webpage. And then the next week I put it live, but it was vertical instead of horizontal like it's supposed to be.
Oh.
So this week I'm hoping that it'll be horizontal, the audio will be good and things like that. But,
well, I love that. It wasn't perfect for you.
No.
But you didn't give up. And you gave it another try. What kind
Yeah.
of feedback have you had from it?
So far, we've had some feedback, like the sounds good, things like that. It's just, I noticed that we had 30 participants on that, and I thought, wow, we had more people there on the Facebook Live than we did in the actual meeting. And I just do it with this thing here and this thing here.
Wow, so no heavy equipment, just a telephone.
Yep.
I think that's fabulous. And you can go back and look at it and see how many times it's been viewed to see,
Yes.
are you reaching more people than you thought you were going to? I think that's grand. Don't forget to invite people to join Kiwanis while you're at it.
Yes.
That's my job. According to Chris White, that's my job, to grow the membership. Anyone else want to share? I think that's fabulous. I love that.
Mary, this is Rick DeMoya from North Brunswick in Southeast North Carolina. This is not novel, but to me, it's logical. We are a lot about service, but a lot of folks join us for the social engagement that they are anticipating. And many of them don't know anybody because they're transplants. And there needs to be a part of the club meeting program, I think, where we share personal background or vignettes about our professional or personal lives that might just connect with somebody else. And that little bit of connection may in turn reward us with retention. And North Brunswick has started doing that. Last year, we had a trivia contest. We put an idea out there, who might this Kiwanian be? Just to start a discussion about who we are. And I think that has merit in retention.
I love that. And then people learn a little bit about each other and how you are connected. I think that's a great idea. And I think you can also do that with the member spotlight that I mentioned. You can do that in your newsletter, online. You can do it in your meetings. We had a meeting, one of our program chairs scheduled, where we all had to write down something about ourselves that no one else knew about us. And you can absolutely do that in the virtual meetings as well.
Mary.
Yes.
This is Chris. I don't know how much more in your presentation, but as far as participant ideas, it might be nice if we could see everybody and have kind of a gallery view. I don't know if you could return us to that.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry. Okay.
Okay, so we can see. I love Walt's idea about doing Facebook Live for his club. That's great. Along Rick's line of trying to help the membership know about each other. Walt could even do a Facebook post like Membership Monday and do a profile on a member of the club every Monday, put on Facebook and have the members share that and share that with all their friends. And then the community would be able to see, oh, I didn't know so-and-so was a member of this Kiwanis club. Maybe I'll ask them about it, that kind of thing. So that's just another idea.
Thank you, Chris. One of the things that we did in our member spotlight was to ask them to tell us what they gained from membership. And when we first did it, we just put it out there. Listen, if you want us to highlight you, that's not the way to do it. Call someone that you haven't heard from and say, hey, we're going to do a member spotlight and we want it to be on you this week. And maybe this is someone that you haven't seen that hasn't been involved. And now guess what? They're involved again. So it's just the little things that you ask people to do that gets them involved, that gets them engaged again. And that's what member engagement is about, is keeping the attention of the members so that they will continue to do the things that we all absolutely love, and that is serving children.
I saw you mentioned earlier about the importance, right? The inception of your presentation about the importance of membership chairs, membership committees, etc. On the call I was on this weekend, there was a governor from the Pacific Northwest, and they had done some statistics, and there were only a third of the clubs in the district had reported a membership chair, which is not uncommon. But when they looked at all their growth for the year, 88% of all new members came from those 1/3 clubs that had reported a membership chair. So it's absolutely crucial. Your comment about that is just right on point.
Please form a membership committee. We're pleading with you to do that. I know that there are clubs that have not reported in the Carolinas because I got an email that said, hey, we formed a committee, but it's not there yet. Make sure your club secretary reports your membership committee and take membership, the secretary's involvement in membership engagement a little bit farther and make sure that they're tracking attendance and reporting that back to your board so you can determine how you can be engaged. They also need to report that to the membership committee so they know how to engage our membership. Use the membership committee. It's so very important. Can't emphasize it enough.
You talked about the importance of getting engaged early in the club. There's a person on the call tonight, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Aquanetta Beatty, who's a member of the Kiwanis Club of Wilmington, and she just joined last quarter. She's close friends with club president Sylvia, and I think being on a webinar like this and getting wanting to know about membership engagement just speaks volumes. So that's just exactly what we want to encourage.
Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry my camera's not on, but I work third shift, so I'm trying to get this in before I take a nap and go to work.
Oh, well, thank you. For
Aquanetta, thank you for being with us.
Yeah, right. Well, I have nothing else to contribute except to say that I'm really thrilled that you all are here. I hope that you will do some of these things that we've talked about. Try something new and different than you typically do. Keep it interesting, make it fun, communicate well.
I love Rick's comment, Mary, about the emphasizing also the social aspect of membership.
Oh.
It's hard to do that somewhat while we're in COVID-19.
Listen,
but,
I need that. I
yeah.
need that. I can tell you from my own personality, I need that. But I think now that we're in pandemic and we're social distancing and quarantining, we all need it more than we thought we did, right? So please reach out to your members and make sure they're well, get them engaged, keep bringing them back. We're going to need boots on the ground when this thing is over. Okay.
And Mary, one thing you mentioned that hit home to me is, and it was also mentioned on the governor's call this weekend, like the Ruby K recognition. I had not heard of Ruby K until I went to my first Kiwanis International Convention. And I thought, well, that might be a good idea to bring back to my club. And so the Ruby K acknowledges people who've recruited at least 5 members to your club. And then there are different hierarchies or scales of Ruby K. So Ruby K, you get this pin from Kiwanis International. Your club secretary can order it. I believe, if I recall correctly, it doesn't cost anything. It's an incentive that Kiwanis has for membership growth. And you get this little gold pin with this, it's supposed to be like a ruby, a little red ruby. It's a little piece of red glass, I think, but it's the symbolism that counts. And when I was president, I had our club secretary look at every person in our club who throughout their career had recruited 5 or more members. Then we ordered the pins from Kiwanis International. And at one of our membership meetings, I had a list, and I waited until I had a membership meeting where all of those members were present. And I called them all up on stage. They had no idea what we're doing. And in front of all the club, I thanked them profusely for all their efforts to bring in their friends and colleagues, etc., to the Kiwanis Club of Raleigh and all they had meant to help grow our club. And I presented them their Ruby K pins. And it's just a small gesture and it costs nothing to the club, but you could tell a number of those persons were very touched. And it also is just a symbolism from the president of the club or from the club itself that we recognize and value our members who recruit new members. I think it's a great idea. If you haven't done it in your club, something to consider.
Absolutely.
I believe Curtis has a suggestion.
I was just going to mention that today we had 3 different clubs attending a virtual meeting. The club at Seven Lakes held their meeting today. And our district effort has been including us sending emails to all the other presidents. So we had members from the Sandhills Club attend. We had members from the Rayford Club attend. And so that's one way to get your members engaged, is if you're not meeting, but there are clubs in your district or neighboring clubs that are meeting, try to get yourself invited, get a link to their meetings, and see if you can't get involved with what the other clubs are doing.
I like that. I was invited to that, but I had kindergarten going on today. But I hear it was going to be a really nice program.
Mary, I know of another great membership engagement, especially for new members. I cannot remember the club that started this. I know it was a club that was very prestigious in their community for pancakes, because what they would do is you would be inducted into the club, but they had 8 Kiwanis aprons that they used for their pancake breakfasts each year. And you could not receive your apron until you had met certain criteria as a new member. And those criteria would include things like being a greeter at the door for the meeting for a certain number of times, taking the new member orientation, being active on a committee, and possibly having already done a service project or a fundraiser. And then once they had completed all those steps, they got their apron, and every member of the club had signed their apron.
Oh, I love that. It's a great idea.
So I wish I remembered which club did that so I could give them credit, but I do remember that as a great idea.
Well, I love when I visit clubs to experience the different traditions and things that clubs do, or when an award is given and they're honoring someone and they explain why that person is being honored. That in itself is inspirational, but then to receive the award for that person that's being honored just takes it a step farther, I think. But clubs are great. There are a lot of great ideas that we can share and gain from each other. Share them. Tell us what you're doing. Post them on social media. I'm trying to follow as many clubs as I possibly can so that I know what's going on with clubs. And I know Leah and Chris are commenting and sharing those ideas as well on the Carolinas District page. If you haven't followed Carolinas District Facebook page and you're on Facebook, follow it so that you know what's going on. There's a lot of inspiration coming through Facebook these days, right? And we're spending a lot more time with it than we ever did. So it's important to use it to our advantage.
Do we have questions do we have questions or comments? It looks like Cindy might be raising her hand. And unmute yourself, please, Cindy.
Okay. All right. Yes. So, Mary, you've given me a very good idea for the next division council meeting.
What's
so I
that?
think I will put that on my agenda for clubs to share ways that they are, ways that they're doing fun traditional things. And I know what some of them are because I attend so many Zoom meetings of clubs in the division, but it seems like every club has a little unique thing that they do for every club. Yeah. So that's a good thing for folks to not only share in this group, but to share them at a division council meeting so other clubs can hear.
Thank you for doing that. That's a great idea, Cindy. Cindy is an outstanding lieutenant governor. She's now publishing a division newsletter, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
It's important for us to stay in touch, stay connected, and communicate. Cindy recognized that, and she brought about a tool to make it available for us to do that. So,
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That is Division 26 Lieutenant Governor Cindy Bryant, who is Mary's Lieutenant Governor, and both of them were instrumental in planning the Christmas drive-through party that we had at the Boys and Girls Homes in North Carolina. Another creative
which Mary's Jeep won. The students identified
best decorated float.
The best decorated.
Said
and I'm
decorate,
so-
so we didn't take it lightly.
Yeah, can I just add one other thing about lifelong friendships? Because I know you mentioned that, Mary. You know, through Kiwanis, not only have I made long-lasting friendships with people in my community, but you make long-lasting friendships with people in our Kiwanis family. Mary and I will never forget the night that Mary came and did the induction ceremony. And it was her very first induction ceremony as trustee 5. And I don't know, that had to have been 5-6 years ago. And so I'm so thankful to have you for my friend, and that will always be, Mary.
I'm grateful for you too. And that made me think about Pete Irby.
Yeah, of course. Yep,
Pete.
yep.
Pete, oh my goodness. If you didn't have
Yeah.
an opportunity to meet Pete, you missed it.
Yeah,
He was just the perfect gentleman. He always walked me to my car. It was so kind.
yeah.
He was a great Kiwanian who left an amazing legacy for us all, right? When you say that. But
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much I have gained from Kiwanis. You know, it's been an amazing experience for me. And I'm sure all of you can say the same thing. I'm getting emotional thinking about it. But listen, this is a wonderful opportunity that we have here in Kiwanis to serve children and to grow the leadership and expand the membership. So we're pleading with you to focus on the important work that we have to do and to bring others into this. And let's not forget about those members that we already have who've already given years of service to Kiwanis, and now they're sitting home and they're not engaged because they're afraid to come out of their houses. They need to stay home to stay well. And
Yeah.
you know, we're told again and again how important it is to social distance and to quarantine. And we need to do those things. We absolutely do. But while doing those things and staying safe and staying well, we want to make sure that people are still engaged and they know we care. And that when this thing is over, we've got the people, the hands and feet that we need to serve the children and the needs of children in this community. Get creative. You know, the list of things that I gave you tonight is just a beginning. It's just the tip of the iceberg of the many, many things that can be done. But make sure our members are well and that they're engaged.
Beautifully stated. I'm going to recognize Governor-elect Joe Crostick. Before I do, Joe made a presentation last week or webinar on fundraising and service during a pandemic. Creative ways to have service and fundraising during a pandemic. It was last week. If you haven't seen it, I would encourage you to go see it. Again, you can get that from the Carolinas District Resources tab on the webinar library. And Joe went to over 100 Facebook pages from clubs in the Carolinas District to put together their projects, their service, their fundraising. It was a fabulous presentation. I commend it to you if you haven't seen it. And now, Joe, what's your question or comment?
I was going to add a comment in terms of other ways to engage our members to take a look at this Amplify program, which KI is rolling out in February. Registration for it opens on the 15th. It's a leadership development program. It's going to be primarily done remotely, and you can do the whole thing remotely. So if you have some members in your club that maybe are future leaders of your club or that you want to encourage to get involved in something, we've got some scholarships available through the district to help support the cost of doing the program. And I just think it'd be another way to involve some folks. So we're going to do a webinar on that on February 16th. So mark your calendars if you don't have that one already written down.
Thank you, Joe. That was a segue into my announcement of what our upcoming webinars are, and so we'll talk about that in just a second. But before I wrap up for the evening, are there any other questions or comments?
May I make a comment?
Please do.
I'm Chris Mall. I'm in Columbia, South Carolina, and I'm with the Columbia Golden K Kiwanis Club. I was in the last seminar with you, Joe Crostick, and I did very much get a lot from that presentation, your presentation. I enjoyed it. And during that time, Curtis Ritchie reached out and offered to answer questions for me and be of assistance. And I appreciate that, Curtis. I did send you my email. I hope you got it and it didn't end up in spam or whatever.
I think you got it.
Okay, and then, yeah, and so I wondered, Curtis, do you think I could ask that question to the group tonight?
Absolutely. I'm sorry that I haven't conveyed everybody's replies back to you yet, so please do.
Okay, I'm relatively new to Kiwanis. I'm been selected as the membership chair, and I have just received this week a new application, and the lady's asking, we were all wondering if the initial fee has been waived still into 2021.
I can address that very briefly because we discussed that as governors this weekend. So, and I may call on someone. I don't know if he wants to unmute himself and show himself, but according to the 32 participants that we have on the call, one is Greg Beard, who's a Kiwanis International trustee. He was our counselor last year. He's a Superior Court judge in Louisiana and a member of the Lemiston. There he is, a member of the Lemiston district with Patrice Cusimano, the wonderful Patrice. Greg, are you still serving on the board this year? Unmute yourself, please.
I thought I was just not paying attention. I'm off the board. I wrote off in October, but still involved with some of them. In fact, when you asked that, Chris, I started right now trying to get in touch with Bert or Katrina that are on the board, which y'all know is that trying to see if they did. I think they were talking about that. In fact, today is the 19th. The board starts, the Kiwanis International board starts their meetings today and tomorrow. So probably after today or tomorrow, probably about Thursday or Friday, you will see some information come from the Kiwanis International Board. And that is like one of the topics is that whether they're going to extend the new member enrollment fee, which expired December 31. They're looking at possibly, I'm just guessing at this now, maybe going through March with it, but that is a topic they're looking at. And you might hear more about that by the end of the week.
Greg, first of all, thank you for being with us tonight. Next time you see Patrice, tell her everybody from the Carolinas says hello. She's wonderful.
Thank you, Chris.
What I do, thanks for being with us. What I do know, Chris, is this, and that is the board meeting is this week. Today, the trustees have 6 hours of education, and then Wednesday and Thursday, they have what's called a meeting of the whole, where they all get together on a screen like this virtually, and they talk about all the decisions they have to make, and and that's where they express themselves and make their pro and con arguments. And then the actual board meeting is this Friday. It's on the agenda, but we will not know until next week what the decision is. Okay.
Okay, that's wonderful.
So
thank you.
More to follow, more to come. Thank you so much for being with us, Chris. So
okay, thank you guys.
Yes, and Curtis Ritchie, the person you're communicating with, he is our Division 10 Lieutenant Governor, and is along with Cindy, he's doing a fabulous job.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you to Chris for taking on such an important job, and it sounds like you're doing it well. You have an application in your hand, so thank you so much for that.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for joining our webinar. So, thank you all for being with us tonight. It's wonderful, Mary. You did a fabulous job. We love having Mary be a presenter because she always does such a tremendous job. Such a positive person. So we try to have at least 2 of these webinars every month. Upcoming webinars are on February 9th, Tuesday, February 9th. We're going to have Dave Kelly, who is a CKI administrator. He spoke at our VCon back on August 15, and he'll be speaking on the topic Building Leaders Through Service. That's Tuesday, February 9. On Tuesday, February 16, Joe was mentioning Kiwanis Amplify. And for those of you who want to know something about Amplify, what it is, you can visit Kiwanis International's website, kiwanis.org/amplify. You can go to the Carolinas district. We've had stuff in it in our website and CD News. the Carolina Kiwanian, which just came out. Joe is correct. We're offering 12 need-based scholarships for people that wish to participate in this leadership training. This leadership training will begin April 19. It goes right through Kiwanis International Convention in Salt Lake City. So there are 8 different modules. There are 56 different subparts. There are 38 different presenters of content, people in their various fields of study who are experts. It's going to be fabulous. It's leadership training for Kiwanians. And that leads us to the February 16 webinar. We're going to have Lindsay Carrick-Weichel, who is from Kiwanis International, and this is her baby. She is the person who is shepherding this, the staff person, and she's going to come and tell you all about Kiwanis Amplify. It's one day after the registration begins, which is February 15th. Lindsay's mom just had her knee replaced today and is already up and walking. Lindsay's fabulous, and she'll be with us. And then on March 16th, we're going to have Anne Mariah Burton back. She made a presentation back in December, on December 8th, on Facebook 101, just very rudimentary beginnings of Facebook. And she's going to take it the next step so you can learn how to do Facebook better for your Kiwanis Club. So Tuesday, March 16, Facebook 102, Anne Mariah Burton. And then our last webinar in March is to be announced. They're all free, just like tonight. You can register for them by going to CD News, the Carolinas District website, carolinakiwanis.org. And we would love to have you back. Tell your Kiwanis friends about it and have them register and attend these, because we've been having very good attendance on this, and we're just so pleased that you're with us. Before I close for the evening, again, thank you, Mary. And I would just turn this over to our district secretary, wonderful Leah Moretz, who does such a fabulous job for our district. Can we get this going? That's right. And I'd just like to ask Leah, do you have any comments or anything before we close the evening?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. I do remember a point that you have made in the past that sticks in my mind quite a bit. And that was half of all new endeavors. The biggest obstacle to half of all new endeavors is just starting. So don't let perfection be the enemy of good. Take Walt's story of how he's gone onto Facebook Live and had some troubles, but he keeps trying and being on. He's already had 30 people attend a meeting, more than in person. So please just take one thing that Mary has said and implement it before the end of February. And then take another thing that Mary has said and implement it before the end of March, and you will have begun. So I really appreciate everyone being here tonight. Mary, as usual, you did a fabulous job. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all have a great evening. We hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Chris. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.